Ever felt that reliance on AI tools like ChatGPT might be creeping in, maybe making you wonder if that convenience comes at a cost, perhaps, making you a little less sharp? Today, we're taking a deep dive into some really interesting studies from mid-2025. They're looking at how artificial intelligence might be encouraging something called cognitive offloading. We're going to explore what that really means for your critical thinking skills, the good parts and maybe the more concerning ones too. Our mission really is to pull out the key insights from this recent research on AI use and its impact on how we think. To give you a clear picture of what we're seeing right now, let's get into it.
Yeah, and what's really central here is this idea of cognitive offloading. It sounds technical, but, well, it's something our brains naturally do. We tend to delegate mental tasks to outside tools. It's not new at all. Think about using a calculator instead of doing maths in your head.
Or shopping list.
Exactly. Or even just, using your phone for directions or reminders. It frees up mental space. The difference now with AI is the sheer novelty and the scale of what we're offloading. It's getting into more complex cognitive stuff.
And that's where this new research, especially the stuff making waves on places like our psychology, gets really compelling.
Yeah.
It seems to show a pretty clear link. What they're finding is, well, a trend. People who use AI tools more often tend to score lower on critical thinking tests.
Mm-hmm.
It's a direct correlation they're seeing in the latest data. It's not just about making minor mistakes. It feels more fundamental.
Right. And when we talk about critical thinking here, what do we mean? It's basically the ability to analyze information, evaluate it, synthesize it, make reasoned judgments, spotting biases, checking facts, connecting ideas. So why might AI undermine that? Well, the studies suggest these AI chatbots, they often present information very confidently, almost like a person would.
Yeah, very sure of themselves.
Exactly. And researchers like Aline Nardi, whose work was highlighted by FNRS New WS, points out this can make users kind of lower their own critical defenses. You start accepting the AI's output as fact without double-checking. Some Reddit users mention this too, people developing this almost blind faith in the bot, even when it's basically making things up or hallucinating.
So it bypasses that whole process of weighing different sources.
Precisely. The very mental work we usually do.
Okay, but it's definitely a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because let's be honest, the benefits are huge. Researchers, like those mentioned in FNRS New WS, they consistently say these AI tools are very useful. They boost productivity significantly. Think about saving time on brainstorming or getting interviews transcribed, pulling together literature reviews quickly, even just drafting emails or reports.
Oh, absolutely.
For a lot of people, that's incredibly valuable. And sometimes, for quick factual questions, users find AI even better than Google because it gives you a neat, consolidated answer instead of just links.
That efficiency gain is undeniable. It can free you up for higher level thinking in theory. In theory, yes. But, like any powerful tool, there are risks, and the research is flagging some pretty big ones, especially around data. Aline Nardi's work really emphasizes concerns about data privacy and intellectual property. When you feed information into many of these AI models, especially the public ones, that information often gets absorbed into their training data.
Right. To make the AI smarter.
Exactly. But that creates real risks. If you're putting in sensitive company data or maybe client information or even your own unpublished ideas, that information's confidentiality could be compromised. Once it's in there, it's potentially part of the model's knowledge base.
So it's not just about what we get out, but very much about what we put in. That's a key point.
Absolutely. And building on that, these tools often have what you might call a long memory. By default, things like ChatGPT log your conversations, all of them. Over time, as Nardi described it, this builds up a precise summary of your interests, your style, your questions.
Well, like a profile.
Kind of. And this naturally blurs the lines between using it for work and, well, personal stuff. Some people even start treating the AI almost like a therapist or a confidant, sharing really personal things.
That is a significant blurring. And when you combine that long memory with the data usage concerns, what are the bigger security picture implications?
Well, it leads to broader concerns about security and who controls the data. Nardi's research highlighted, for example, that the data policies for some tools, like the Chinese chatbot DeepSeek, can be quite vague. The worry is that under certain laws, authorities, say in China, could potentially request access to that data from the companies.
For almost any reason.
The bar can be lower than in some other places. So data you enter, personal or professional, might end up accessible to third parties you didn't anticipate. And beyond that, remember, AI systems aren't perfect. They reflect the biases in their training data. They have flaws, biases, and all, just like the data sources. And crucially, they don't self-reflect. They don't question their own biases like a person might. Plus, some studies suggest that just admitting you used AI for a task can sometimes make people see your work as less credible. It adds another layer of complexity.
So human oversight and critical judgment remain absolutely essential.
Non-negotiable, really.
And this all ties back directly to our daily lives, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Even outside of complex work tasks. You might not even notice how much cognitive offloading you're already doing. Just stop and think. How often do you grab your phone to remember something, an appointment, a phone number, a fact, instead of trying to recall it yourself? Or when you hit a problem, how quick are you to just search for the answer online rather than, say, wrestling with it for a bit, maybe sketching it out?
Yeah, the path of least resistance.
And how dependent do you feel on your devices for just getting through the day, for finding information? These questions are actually being asked in surveys now, trying to measure this shift.
It really underscores why we need to stay actively critically engaged, to push back against the downsides of offloading too much. We need to make sure AI is augmenting our intelligence, not replacing it. And that means doing the work. Cross-checking information AI gives you, looking at different sources. Questioning it. Thinking about the source, the potential biases, the underlying assumptions. Don't just take the first answer. It's not about ditching AI. It's about being a smarter, more discerning user. Treat it like a very capable assistant, but remember, you are still the boss.
It leaves us with a pretty big thought, doesn't it? As AI gets woven deeper and deeper into our lives, changing how we work, learn, interact. What parts of our own thinking, our cognitive autonomy, are we maybe trading away for that convenience, for that speed? And what might that mean down the line for independent thought, for making our own decisions in a world that's increasingly driven by AI? Something to think about. Well, that's our deep dive for today. We hope you found this look at AI and cognitive offloading valuable. If you did, please consider subscribing to the podcast at Philip. Your support really helps us, especially as we aim for our goal of 1,000 subscribers. It allows us to keep bringing these kinds of analyses. Thanks for listening.